Hookup culture is a phenomenon that has become prominent on American college campuses in the past 10 to 20 years. It's most commonly defined as a culture that accepts and promotes casual sexual encounters that don't include or lead to emotional attachments or long-term commitments. Hookup culture is usually described as a byproduct of today's indecisive, self-obsessed, technology-addicted youth. It's also associated with party and drinking culture that's so prominent on college campuses today. Despite the fact that the term hooking up has many definitions and can mean something different to every person who engages in it, there's still empirical evidence for the existence of a hookup culture on college campuses. In a study commissioned by the Independent Women's Forum, 90% of American college students believe there's a strong hookup culture at their school. Another study by sociologist Ariel Kuperberg surveyed students from 22 different colleges and found that 62% of students have hooked up with someone since starting college. While there are many proposed explanations for this trend of trading in commitment and attachment for casual sexual endeavors, one explanation can be found with the help of Jason Hickel's theories of personhood and conceptions of the good. In Hickel's book, Democracy as Death, the conflict between the rural Zulu and the African National Congress was centered around the Zulus' resistance to migrate to urban townships, with homes that carried towards a nuclear single-family structure and employed a contract-based housing system. This conflict was a direct result of the dichotomy between the ANC's and the Zulus' conceptions of good and perceptions of personhood. The urban townships reflect the ANC's ideals of liberalism and conceptions of the person as an individual. Liberalism promotes the narratives of equality, independence, and freedom in a society. Individualism is a conception of personhood that emphasizes the freedom of choice and personal agency of an individual. The urban, single-family housing structure promotes equality between male and female responsibilities within a household, while the contract-based housing system promotes egalitarianism by releasing residents from the familial hierarchy, and the separation between private and public spaces creates a separation between personal and communal activities, thereby fostering individuality within the community. On the other hand, the Zulus' conception of the good is the idea of encompassment, where difference and hierarchy are valued because they lead to fruition and communal prosperity. Their definition of personhood is directly related to this idea of encompassment, in that they perceive people as fractals, or parts of a whole, rather than the whole itself. Their homestead structure reflects these ideals because each homestead includes a large extended family, where each member has a certain job and a place within the familial hierarchy. These two systems of living are very different, and therefore it is not surprising that the ANC wanted to change the living structure of the Zulu, and that the Zulu were, in turn, reluctant to change. Both parties saw their own housing arrangements as the most beneficial for everyone in their community. So, what does this have to do with hookup culture in America? The answer is that the prominence of hookup culture can be explained through the same theoretical model that Hickel uses to understand conflict between the ANC and the rural Zulu. Hookup culture is a direct reflection of American individualistic values and the liberal conception of the good. Most of the American higher education system is focused on individual achievements rather than group efforts, and American society in general values individualism much more than a collectivist mentality. Therefore, it is no surprise that students' attitudes towards relationships follow the same code of individualism. By engaging in casual hookups, a person avoids tying themselves to another person and maintains their individual identity. Their personal trajectory does not become intertwined with someone else's, and they continue to take personal responsibility for everything that occurs in their life. An important thing to remember is that just as the different living styles in South Africa were viewed positively or negatively by different parties involved, hookup culture also has different connotations for different people. According to Jason Hickel, whether you perceive hookup culture as detrimental to our society or just a natural part of growing up in America is entirely dependent on what you and your culture initially perceive as good and what your conception of personhood is.